my financial security is uh, based on FDR getting Social Security through, and on my state pension, and on my judge pension. The latter two are both under PERS. When I spent 12 years in the legislature, the pension I was going to get from that was going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $400 a month. But when I got elected as judge, they counted the 12 years in the legislature along with the 7.5 years as a judge, went together and multiplied against the judge pension percentage. So I have a quite substantial, like $4,000 a month pension from the state. And you add that to a couple $1,000s from Social Security, and I'm pretty secure. And how did I get the security? When I was a legislator, I had the business plan, the retirement plan in my head that I would eventually get elected to Congress. And I knew that Congress people have very good pensions. I wasn't ever sure that I was going to get that, but I was willing to gamble on it and keep watching and waiting for Ron Wyden to run for the U.S. Senate so I could run for his House seat. By the time that finally happened, it was too late. I'd waited 18 years, and I really, the fire had gone out of my belly for going out and campaigning. I was enjoying practicing law, and also my wife was dying, and so I couldn't run for Congress. I also knew at the same time not to get bitter about the fact that I couldn't run after all that time, because I looked at the fellow who got the job, who was Earl Blumenauer, who was finishing his last term right now. So he got elected in '96. So do the arithmetic. How long has he been in there? Quite a while. And when I saw the campaign ads that he put on the television, I knew I would have never gotten that job anyway. He had cuddled up to the utilities and the banks and the big money back all the way back when he was in the legislature, and I hadn't. So I would have gotten buried. So I never resented that I couldn't run when the job finally came open. I also, over the years, have gotten to where I don't resent it at all, because I see what kind of a life it is to be there in Congress now with the great division, the great anger and animosity, and the deadlock, the inability to get brave new things passed is just awful. And I would have had to fly back and forth in order to produce a lot of frustration. So in a way, my lack of political success was a great blessing and a savings to me in my life. But I want to mention one more thing about financial security. After my wife died in 1996, I had a law practice that had been based heavily on her as my office manager, who helped me interview new clients, who gathered up the exhibits for trials, who kept the books, dealt with the tax preparer, hired, trained, and supervised the secretary, and when I had associate lawyers help me communicate with them. When I'd go down to the legislature, she'd stay in Portland most of the time and be the conduit of advice and direction for me in the law practice while I was gone. So when she died, I lost, as I told people, over half my brain. But I was not giving up. I moved into a smaller office and kept on working. Uh, Within days after she died, I went down to the office to kind of clear out my desk a little bit more and get ready. I was going to take a trip and go see my cousins in Amsterdam and rest and try to deal with my grief. And standing at the door was a woman as yellow as a lemon who was dying of liver cancer. And she'd been a client, was a client, and she said, "I want you to do for me what you did for Judy, your wife." And I said, "I can't do that. I'm overcome." She says, "You have to do it." She was a very pushy woman, and uh, I couldn't really tell her no. So I got the woman who'd come in and helped us most when Judy was in bed dying, and I helped her draft deeds to give her rental properties to her sons, and uh, she died rather quickly, but I was there to help do it. And by the time I got through with that, I was starting to get other new clients coming in and starting to work for them. And of course, it's always been very satisfying to me to help people. So my trip to Europe never materialized. I just got back to work. Well, I was working along. Oh, I had my most interesting death penalty client came along at that particular time, by the way. And I spent Christmas Eve most of the day in jail talking with him about how we were going to deal with the need for him to change his plea to guilty or risk 25 years with no chance for parole. But along in there, come the next spring, a year after Judy died, a little more than a year, a dear, dear friend came and said, "There's a position been created by the legislature for a new judgeship, and you have to run for it." His name is Henry Cantor. And I said, "Henry, I'm still grieving. It's been only a year, and I've lost so much. You got to run." He never talked to me like that any other time. He's a very kind, sensitive, gentle man. But he ordered me to run. He knew I needed the security. So I took long walks, and I would think, "Judge not, lest ye be judged." That's deep in my psyche from my days of being religious. Judge not, lest you be judged. I didn't want to be the big honcho sitting up there above people and raining down on them. But I finally decided, Jan, you better do it. And you can overcome your concerns about being a Pharisee by being sensitive and kind to people who come in front of you. And I worked at that, and I think I was quite successful at it. So I ran, and I had to campaign for 13 months to get elected, but I did, and that has made all the difference for me financially. I haven't had a day of financial worry since the day I got elected judge. It's not a huge salary, but it comes every month, and then coming with it is the $4,000 pension and $2,000 plus to my widow. So, things to be grateful for. How I got financial security. Thank you, Henry Cantor. You were my savior.